What is differentiation in the classroom anyways? Hi there teachers, Miriam Busfield here from Engaging Curiosity to empower you to take charge in the classroom by supporting you with classroom management strategies and resources. Today I'm sharing from my blog post, Tales of Why is Differentiation in the Classroom Important? I am a faith-led, married mother of two, grandmother to one, outdoor enthusiast, and retired teacher. My passion is to share what I know about teaching to support this wonderful new generation of teachers. In the links down below, you will find my free classroom management checklist. Download the checklist to see what you have in place and to set some goals for what you see as your next need for your own classroom. Thank you for joining me today. For some teachers, terror strikes their very hearts when they are asked, what is differentiation in education? To differentiate in classroom means you have thought about the individual learning styles of your students and how ready they are for the content before designing a lesson plan. I bet that still sounds pretty tough because that may sound like a whole lot of assessment is required, which is true. But what kind of assessment is necessary? When you sat down with a child, even for 10 seconds, and helped them to understand the next step, that was a formative assessment. You now understand the student's strengths and stretches better. A quick nudge and they have the concept. Remember the other time it took 5 minutes with the student? You may have had to try different ways to teach the concept, from drawing or rephrasing to referring back to earlier chats and or breaking the concept into smaller pieces. This student needs more than a nudge. These are formative assessments. From all of these interactions, some of which you will more formally label as conferences, you learn about your students' strengths and stretches, how they learn, what engages them, and gets them motivated to learn. Now that you have that information, you use it when you plan. That is the essence of differentiation. I do go more into the principles in other blog posts, but that's the essence of it. So why is differentiated instruction important for the classroom? The story that inspired me to truly understand why differentiation is important was when I read the true story of Jacob Barnett, The Spark, A Mother's Story of Nurturing Genius. This book was written by Jacob's mom, Christine Barnett. The boy's parents were told he would never read, but they may be able to teach him to tie his shoes by 16 years of age. The stunning discovery of Jacob's genius was just one of the revelations in the book. Every professional that the Barnetts worked with was so focused on Jacob's atypical shortcomings that they did not see his genius. And he is classified as a genius in the very real use of that word. As a teacher, I was also struck when the story shared the process of how the educational psychologist got Jacob's mother, Christine, to understand just how difficult sitting in boredom in school was for Jacob. Spoiler alert, Jacob accomplishes far more than tying his shoelaces, and his work is considered to be groundbreaking in his field. Jacob is an extreme case, and it would be difficult for any teacher to adequately differentiate for him. But his story definitely drove home the importance of differentiation for me. Differentiation is not something we might do sometimes. Differentiation is something we must do consistently. So what is the payoff in implementing differentiation in the classroom strategies? Truthfully, as a teacher, one of the biggest motivators to remember why differentiated instruction is important is that the time and effort put into differentiation pays off a thousandfold when it comes to classroom management. All too often, students will tell us they can't do the work given to them, and they are encouraged with, just do your best. So they try their best, and they really can't do it. The next time, they look a little bit more upset, and sometimes a teacher will get frustrated that the student is acting out. Over time, the student may continue to be refusing to do the work while communicating their inability to do the work. Finally, one day, they scrunch the work out, yell in frustration, and throw it in the garbage. However, in a similar situation, if we listen to the child who says, I can't, we are more likely to learn more about the child and their needs. By listening and respecting, we build trust in relationships and we diminish the likelihood of the student acting out. Now, have you ever wondered how differentiating for the student impacts you, the teacher? This is where my story comes in. Academically, I am able, but I have ADHD. I was diagnosed as an adult when I was battling depression. Over time, I have developed strategies for many of the impacts of ADHD in my life, but sometimes making a phone call to book an appointment can take me weeks because task initiation, in other words, getting started, is an uphill battle for me. I remember teachers standing over me, yelling at me for not doing my homework. There are many things that are wrong with that scenario, but I will address just one issue. My grades were fine. I wasn't the top of the class, but I was close. Why was it important for me to do the homework? It was the teacher's expectations that I do my homework that created their own perception that I was a classroom management problem. In their mind, not doing my homework was surely indicated I was being lazy and defiant. But what was really going on? In truth, I took my homework home every single night. I wanted to do it because I wanted so badly to please my teacher. I was neither lazy nor defiant, and I desperately wanted my teacher to love me. But I was perceived as a discipline problem. I just couldn't get started at home because, task initiation. Had my teacher made a connection between my grades and the incomplete homework, she may have seen things differently. Could she have given me more challenging spelling and then discussed with my mom to get a homework routine established? Or perhaps she could have had me give practice quizzes to another student who was doing their work well, and they could have done the same thing for me. Perhaps I could have been asked to alphabetize the words, make up a sentence per word, practice writing the words in cursive. There were a lot of options, but screaming at me should never have been one of them. And going back to my initial question as to how differentiating for the student impacts you, I think my teachers were really stressed out by me. However, they also chose not to do the work to support or understand me. In the short term, differentiating for me may have created work for the teacher. In the long term, they would have less real stress as their anger wouldn't have been triggered all day, all week, all month, all year. So maybe by working to serve the student, we are also serving ourselves. So the next is to see that differentiation in classroom can change lives. Do you believe that? My husband's once actually looked back through the academic record of a student in his school who was considered to be a significant behavior problem. When looking through the records, he could see that there had been a change in grade 2, and slowly the student's behavior started to escalate. Now, the student may have experienced a trauma or something that was entirely unrelated to academics, but it was very apparent that something had changed. Was it a sudden drop in grades? Maybe something had happened at home. Was it a slow inability to improve in a subject area that was eroding student confidence? Maybe the student needed more opportunities to practice, use manipulative, or have videos included in the instruction. Are we listening to our students and respecting them when they are vulnerable enough to say, I can't? I'm not trying to assign blame to earlier teachers because I wasn't there. However, to me, it is a reminder that by learning how to differentiate, we can truly change lives. What could have happened for this child had the child been taught instead of the curriculum? When we listen to a child, we discover if the resistance is due to a disability, trauma, illness, or even divorce. Once we have that information, we can make the appropriate adjustments for that moment or for that year. We need to understand that differentiation in the classroom is a strategy for classroom management. There are so many ways that putting time and effort into differentiation supports effective classroom management. So here are just a few. 1, fewer behavioral problems caused by stress, frustration, and imploding self-confidence. 2, more inclusiveness leads to a better classroom community, which leads to happy kids that feel safe. 3, greater engagement making less off-task behavior. 4, supporting the development of a growth mindset in our students. 5, a happier teacher who reaps the rewards of an engaged community of learners. Thank you for joining me today for this video on my blog post, Tales of Why is Differentiation in the Classroom Important? I hope you join me again soon, and please remember, use the link down below to download my free classroom management checklist. See you soon.